This is a quick tutorial on sculpting a sea monster's head in Curvy 3D. I'm loaded a sketch of my sea monster, and I'm going to draw around the parts of it to make 3D shapes in Curvy. Now first I'm going to make the forehead out of a hollow-ended tube. So I've drawn a single curve and tucked the ends in to make them hollow. Then I've switched to a widget move tool to drag the curve around to fit my sketch. I can draw more than one curve to define the shape. So here I'm drawing the bottom of the forehead, and again switching to the widget tools to move it around. The keyboard shortcut for that is just tap W. If the shape gets a bit unruly, I press S to smooth the curve. Now we're going to create another lathe for the body of the head. If I know the shape's going to be symmetrical, I usually start in the left view and draw the front and back curves along the center axis. Then I can draw a single side curve in the front view and press M to make the object symmetrical. Again, this shape has got to be a little bit hollow at the bottom to act as the creature's the roof of the creature's mouth. When I draw the shapes, it's easiest to do them lined up with the axes and then move them into place later. I'm going to be merging all of these shapes together, but it helps if the different parts overlap as closely as possible to get a nice smooth model. Now, a normal lathe would spin round a straight axis, but a curvy lathe calculates the axis automatically, and it can be any shape. So by bending the two curves in the forehead, it creates a curved axis, and the whole object will sort of curve around in the right shape for his forehead. Now it helps to reuse objects wherever possible, so I'm going to make a copy of the head for the jaw. Tapping T gives you access to the move, rotate and scale commands. And if you hold down X, Y or Z while using, say, the scale command, it'll scale the object only along that axis, which is very useful for shrinking or squashing objects. So again, I'm just using the widget tools to drag the curves into shape, and then moving the whole object to line up with my sketch. It's good to save lots of copies as you model, just in case you want to go back and change something or find a piece which you've since deleted. Now with these three parts made, I can merge them together, which is as simple as choosing Model Quick Merge All. As you see, it's made a continuous skin, and tapping S just smooths off any rough edges. Next, I want to make this head symmetrical. So I've drawn a tiny little dot of a lathe, which you can see below the head. That, if I drew that in the left view, it'll appear in the center of the front view. And when I use the mirror command later, the object needs to be in the center of the view to mirror correctly. So I've just moved it in. It's easier to sculpt when the object's lined up with the axes. Now here I'm using quite a sharp shaped widget move tool to pull out the spikes on the forehead. I've set the scale quite small and the shape of the brush to be quite pointed. Now I'm using a very broad flat shaped brush to start sculpting into the head. Just painting over the surface, defining the main shapes I want there. I'd usually start with a broad flat brush and then make the details more intense with a slightly pinching brush. So you see in the tools panel I can use either the sort of inflating type brush or the deflating brush. Now in the warp brush panel where you've got the settings, I've increased the pinch slider a little bit, so now that when I paint it'll not only pull and push the mesh, it'll also pull the vertices together to make a slightly sharper detail without increasing the number of polygons in the model. So you've got the forehead, the mouth, the cheek starting to get defined, moving on to the jaw. This isn't a terribly realistic model, so I just had fun pulling around the shapes, trying to add detail all over the model.